These light novels are gonna blow up. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about five light novels that are going to be absolutely huge because, well, they're good and, even more important, they all have an anime announced. I'm really excited to talk about these, so without further ado, let's get looking at these light novels, shall we? The first light novel we're going to talk about is I May Be a Guild Receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. And this is a fun one. This is a very fun one. In fact, you might have an idea when just looking at it. It might give you vibes of Konosuba. It's not that ridiculous, but it is still really fun. Now, I read volume 1 of this about a year ago now, and if I'm honest, I never checked out volume 2, but don't let that put you off. This one is one that I will go back to because I really enjoyed it. This is about the misery of work, and I'm going to assume that most of you guys have worked a job at some point. And this is about a young girl who just wants to enjoy her 9-to-5 job. The reason being, well, she used to be a powerful adventuress and decided one day that, well, actually she could die in the dungeon. So rather than die in the dungeon, she thought she'd have, well, a 9-to-5 job. That's very safe. But she works as a guild receptionist. You know, the ones who give out the quests and give out the rewards in the guilds. And, well, she is inundated with paperwork. That's right, paperwork from all of the quests. Because what happens, people from high up issue, oh, there's a minotaur lost in the dungeon killing people. Oh, we need to rally the troops and get everybody out and put this quest out to do it. And of course, people can't beat the minotaur. So what's she gonna have to do? Well, she's gonna go into the dungeon herself and defeat the bosses. Because hey, nothing is gonna stop her from clocking out on time. Now, it's got a little bit more to it. It was one of those ones where I kind of thought, oh, the initial premise is fun, but will it be carried for a full story? And yeah, it turns out that there is this protagonist who is the head of one of the most powerful guilds in the world, and he's got his eyes on our main character once he realizes that she may not be who she originally says. She may be a powerful person who can help them clear the dungeon. And so she is clearing the things, she's just trying to work her normal job while also hiding the truth. It's a really fun one, and it's one that I will go back to very soon, but there is an anime announced for it, so if you haven't already, check this one out because it's going to be a lot of fun. The next title is one that I recently read and I had an absolute blast with it. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of death games, but when I read Playing Death Games to Put Food on the Table, I really enjoyed my time of it. And you guys are probably aware, because long-standing fans of this channel will know that I have been talking about this one in just about every other video or whenever I get the chance. And hey, there was another chance to talk about it. So this is one that I originally said as soon as I read it, this is going to get an anime because I can see the merchandise going absolutely mad. And yeah, so this is about a young girl who, well, she plays death games to put food on the table. What is a death game? Well, you know them from Kaiji, Squid Game, Battle Royale. Group of people get put into these kind of situations where they have to survive by playing games, and all for the amusement of other people. So yeah, now this has a twist. This has a little bit of a twist in that while you could die in the death game, the violence is toned down with stuffing and ridiculousness to get past the senses, basically. But this one is quite fun. Now, on the other hand, this is also known as the Fi light novel because, yep, this is a very much female-dominated series. I think just about every single character introduced is a girl, and in each death game, they are put into different costumes. So the very first one, we have maid death games. We have bunny girls. Later on, we have like tree, mushrooms, schoolgirl costumes, or what have you, which you can pretty much imagine immediately is going to be now available in various costumes for figures. Yeah, and I can't fault them for that. If it's going to market a series, you're going to go for that kind of thing. So I mentioned deaf games because yes, this is a series that focuses on more than one deaf game. The first volume covers 2 deaf games, and yeah, it jumps around the timeline because our protagonist, well, like I said, she plays deaf games to put food on the table. It's her job. So we get to see her doing various deaf games through the timeline. It jumps back and forth. So the first one, she's more experienced, then it goes back to one of her early ones, and you see different characters pop up and evolve throughout the series. A little bit like Wandering Witch, apparently, where we're going to see many characters pop up and we're going to get recurring characters in these deaf games and stuff like that, which is a little bit of an interesting thing. This one is not going to be for everybody. The protagonist is not particularly as likeable because she's not exactly a nice person. She's playing deaf games to put food on the table, but I genuinely think it's one that is worth keeping an eye on. This is going to be either a really good anime or it's going to be kind of not great, but I've had fun with the light novel, so I'm going to advise you guys to check it out. So we're going to talk about another light novel which is pretty much being touted by a lot of people who are fans of light novels to be the best new release of 2024, and that title is The Kept Man and the Princess Knight. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest, this is not going to be for everybody, and if I'm even more bluntly honest, it's going to be one that the anime is going to be very hit and miss. So this is about a man named Matthew, who is the kept man of the Princess Knight. What does he do? Well, for a living, he basically attends to her needs, both during the day and at night, if you know what I mean. Nudge nudge, wink wink. And yeah, so this is an interesting one because our main protagonist is not likeable whatsoever. And I've spoken to other people about this one and they've all said the same. They started reading it, they couldn't stand the main character, but there are some absolutely fascinating and fantastic twists and turns which does keep you hooked. Now, I've read volume 1 and I couldn't make up my mind on how I felt about it, but I did pick up volume 2 and I still don't really know how I feel about it. I don't dislike it, but there is that kind of feeling that I don't exactly love it. It's quite hard to talk about. So one of the things that is interesting with this, and I'm going to spoil you for the end of the first half of the first light novel, because this is something that's probably quite important. Now, Matthew was originally an adventurer and he was very overpowered. Until one day, him and all of his adventuring buddies, they got cursed, and he lost his ability to be overpowered. So he's having to do things a little bit more snidey. If you kind of wanted a character that is basically the thief in a series where he's having to kind of beat people using his own wits, that's what you're going to get in here, and I like it for that. There is a lot of fighting. There's a lot of fighting between Matthew and just random people on the street, like other thieves or bandits or drug dealers or what have you, all in the name of the Princess Knight, because he's going to keep her safe no matter what. And yeah, it's one of those ones where the twists are pretty darn good, but there's also a little bit lacking of a clear goal. I mean, there was a massive twist at the end of volume 1, yet volume 2 was a little bit more slice of life stuff. There was a lot more violence in volume 1, but then it kind of smooths a little bit down. It doesn't go into kind of like completely no violence, but it's not as violent. So yeah, it's kind of jumps back and forth on what it really wants to be, but it is a fantastic read. Again, I've read 2 volumes in these and each time I couldn't put them down, so that is always a good signal. Anime wise, I think it's going to be one that a lot of people are getting excited for, and I think a lot of people are going to read or watch the first part and just kind of bounce immediately of it. And if I'm honest, I can understand that. But believe it from me, keep at this one. By the end of volume 1, if you're not hooked, it's not for you. But I've got a feeling that you guys, you might genuinely enjoy it as much as I did. Next up is another one that, again, volume 1 didn't blow me away, but on further volumes, I fell in love with it. And that is Secrets of the Silent Witch. Now, I've talked about this one a few times. I've never done a full-on video, surprisingly. That is coming soon after I've read volume 3. But Secrets of the Silent Witch is basically... it's a weird one. So this is about a young girl who really struggles to communicate with other people. She can't really hold down a conversation. However, secretly, she is the Silent Witch. A witch so powerful that she doesn't need to chant to do her spells. She is one of the most powerful mages of all time and can't talk to people. However, she's tasked with, well, a task to protect the future prince from assassination. And by doing that, she's got to go to school. Yeah, it's one of those ones where it has a very interesting premise and then immediately throws a school setting at you. And if I'm honest, that's what put me off. Now, the next title we're going to talk about is also a school setting, but that's a little bit different. But Secrets of a Silent Witch, school setting, about a girl who can't communicate, trying her best to fit in. Now, if I'm going to be honest, if you've read one of these villainess titles, you're probably going to see a lot of stuff in them that you're going to see in here. Because she can't communicate, she is immediately looked down on by just about everybody else. Of course, with the prince going to a school, there's going to be a lot of nobility, there's going to be a lot of common folk, and with her just being that kind of an awkward person who doesn't really kind of like stand out. Well, she stands out in all of the nerdy ways. She's a person who loves maths, who loves nothing more than sitting down and going through spreadsheets or accounts and stuff like that. She's not your usual typical student. She's a bit of a nerd and she doesn't communicate well. You kind of have an idea of what's going on here. But what we genuinely do have is a very well written title. The characters are incredibly likeable. Like I said, it does get onto a lot of villainess tropey stuff, so stuff that you've seen in villainess ones, for example, the bully girls, the bully rich girls, the bully guys, the handsome guys who start getting somewhat attracted to her, and it kind of feels like she's starting to build up a reverse harem at this point, because a lot of the guys are very much attached to her. But it's not necessarily done badly, it's just kind of like, yeah, I kind of see a lot of tropes in this that I see in villainess series. Don't think that as a bad thing, but this is something that you should be getting excited for. I know that people were expecting 86 to be announced season 2, and they saw this and people really weren't happy until everyone in the line of little fingers was like, no, this one's good, this one's good, this one is definitely worth checking out. Do so. As of recording this, I think there's like 5 volumes out, so there's plenty to read if you want to read ahead. I've given a very quick synopsis, but yeah, this one is worth checking out. You won't be disappointed. The next one is one that, honestly, I'm quite surprised took as long as it did. This was one that when it got announced, a lot of people got really excited for when the light novel got announced a few years ago. And it's been one that I've delved into and jumped out of many times. Cheetos is in the Ramune Bottle. Now, this is yet another one of these high school slice of life titles, and I'm sure you guys are sick of it. But there's a twist with this one. Our main character is a normal guy. In fact, he's somewhat popular. Yeah, I told you it was a twist because a lot of these high school things have unpopular characters who are surrounded by girls. This one is a guy who actually has a very healthy and normal social life, and of course he's going through a lot of things that young adults, teenagers are going to go through. He's going to go through love, loss, sports events, summer comfiness, bullies, people getting bullied, people shutting themselves away from the world, people getting stalked. it's one of those ones that is kind of so well written, but just simply goes across the mundane world of a slice of life. Like I said, you're going to get your usual school tropes, but when it's tackled by somebody who actually has social skills rather than just being your, well, loser character that we see in so many of these series, it is a bit of a breath of fresh air. And Chitose is definitely something a little bit special in my eyes. I mean, if I'm perfectly honest, I was somebody who, yep, was, well, bullied at school, but I find myself being closer to Chitose than I do most of these characters because I still had a social network. I still had friends to talk to. We were good friends, and that's kind of important. This is more of an ordinary person's school life than it is a loser kid trying to be popular, or a loser kid all of a sudden being paired with the best, most social girl in school. It sounds rather mundane, but everything about this is done well. I mean, I mean well. I mean, for example, I think Volume 4, Volume 5, it focuses on a sports event. Basketball. I have no interest in that whatsoever, and I bounced off the series a little bit. But it was still written incredibly well. And that's one of its great strengths. It is one of, if not the best, slice of life titles out there. If you're looking at your normal high school stuff, it is a very special series, and it's one that I really do recommend you guys check out, because, I mean, I can kind of, it makes me laugh because I've seen people who say, it's not believable, he's overpowered. I'm just like, no, he's a normal guy, he's popular because he's a good person, he's popular because he's got social skills. That's not being overpowered, that's just being a normal person. I mean, yeah, it's kind of I just find it weird. I'm just people are like, he's an overpowered protagonist. I'm just like, he's not though. He has a lot of flaws. He goes through a lot through the first 5 volumes. I haven't read volume 6. I'm going to be honest, but it's one that keeps me coming back and is absolutely worth checking out. At least that's my opinion, anyway. So there we go, 5 titles that are getting an anime that is worth checking out now. Please do check them out, because if I'm honest, these are all ones that, in my opinion, are worth reading. And that's what's got me so excited. That the future of light novels into anime is looking quite hopeful. At least that's if they all get decent adaptations. I'm gonna cross my fingers. But it's over to you guys now. What do you guys think of Cheetos In The Ramune Bottle? What do you think of The Silent Witch? Do you love Ketman and the Princess Knight? Let me know in the comments, and if you do like this, go check out this video right here and subscribe to the channel. An absolutely fantastic light novel is waiting for you up here. I'll see you over there.